Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good night. We just had a power outage. So let me know in the comments if you all can hear me. I literally was just running around the house, resetting routers. The wind here is incredible. It is gusting. It's like a hurricane outside. And I mentioned in my last fibromyalgia video, what in the world is going on with the wind lately and just the weather in general. Lots of conspiracy theories out there, but once again tonight, the wind is just gusting. So if all of a sudden the stream ends, that's probably what happened. Is the power, the whole house just went completely dark about 10 minutes ago. Anyway, I'm really excited about tonight's topic because it's one of my favorites. Being the geek that I am, I love looking into ancient medical practices and things like that. So that's what we're getting into tonight. So let's see. All right. So I'm just going to kick it off. What medical remedies, did I spell that right? I don't know if I spelled medical remedies right. What medical remedies do you recall from your childhood that you think about nowadays and you're kind of like interesting? I mean, right off the top of my head comes the mercury thermometers that my mom used to use, to take my temperature. Um, we still I don't have them, but my mom still does. She can dig out a mercury thermometer, probably still, probably. But anyway, yeah. And on the topic of mercury, let me share my, um, let's see. So mercury was used for many things before we realized how poisonous and toxic it was, because it stays in the body. And when mercury gets into the system, it finds little areas to just park itself and sit, and it becomes over time toxic. But it used to be used to cure syphilis, typhoid, and intestinal parasites, apparently. Uh, One of my earlier videos, and I'll pull it up, was on wild and wacky, medical treatments from the Victorian era. And this was it. Very early video of mine, but you can see it only got 157 views, but that's because I kind of took it out of circulation for a while, and because it just went nowhere after I uploaded it. But the more I think about it now, um, some of the things that I mention in this video are cocaine for hay fever. Here, let's play a little bit of it.
For hay fever, morphine and cough syrup. What? If you haven't guessed it, we're talking about 6 historical medical practices that might have been a smidge misguided. Or just plain dangerous. The first gem on this list that we're going to talk about are milk transfusions. Yes, you heard me right. In the late 19th century, a Dr. Bavell believed milk to be the perfect substitute for blood for the treatment of cholera.
Hello.
And the fatty, oily qualities would become white blood cells. I mean, they're both white, I guess, so I can make that jump.
Very early on.
However, while a few instances of this procedure were
that is my
actually
daughter's
successful, many resulted in death. Go figure. And we're not done. Not by a long shot. In one instance, the injection of milk dropped the patient's pulse immediately to the point where they had to be resuscitated with a combination of, wait for it, morphine and whiskey. Okay.
All right. So, I mean, we're going to actually go back. Oops, hold on one second. We're going to actually go back to that video a couple of times throughout this because I cite some of the you know, medical treatments that they were using. Let's see here. Okay, I have Coco. Literally, her head is right here next to me, and she's either hearing the wind or my son pulling into the driveway and is barking. All right. Okay. I had to, because I have always have so many challenges whenever I do a live, but I'm not going to say it out loud. Towards the end, I will, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone can see, hear me. Here. And I just messaged my daughter asking her if she can. All right, so okay. So hopefully we get some comments going here and I don't have to talk for the next hour. Let's see. Okay. All right, so let's talk about Miss Winslow's soothing syrup. So this treatment, let's see if I can pull it up here. This treatment is a crack up because it was pretty much opiates and other things. I think I want to say we'll look at it in a second as soon as I share my screen. Um, there was a lot of stuff in Miss Winslow's soothing syrup, and you'll see. So this was it. This was like a 25-cent cure-all that they used to give to people, and it soothed. It was kind of like the magic cure-all, but in this contains alcohol, morphine, a pretty heavy percentage of alcohol and morphine. Um, and, they used to give this to everybody, kids included, babies even. And yeah, so here, you see how old the label is. It's actually kind of cool. I love this stuff. Um, it cured everything from colic and diarrhea, apparently. So yeah, helps soften the gums and helps pain, I'll say. I mean, that combination helps pain even today, but yeah, so this was around, I guess, between 1840 and 1909. Is that what that says? So that's Miss Winslow's soothing syrup. So interesting. It's so crazy to me how far we've come, but how many things like this from the past influenced our medicine today. I mean, we still use cocaine in surgery, liquid cocaine for things like rhinoplasty or nose jobs. It has vasoconstrictive properties. So they'll put, cocaine in somebody's nose to close down those small blood vessels. So it cuts down on the bleeding during surgery. But, it has a lot of common properties with, medications and things that we use today. So, I find that pretty interesting. Um, and let's see if I can get here. the one above this up here was milk transfusions, which you heard me talk about in the video. But they used to use this to resuscitate drowning victims. They felt like or not, I'm sorry, I'm mistaking that. That's smoke enemas. We'll get to smoke enemas. Milk transfusions. Yeah. I mean, they thought that the fatty, oily properties of it were a good substitute for blood, and they tried that. And the crazy thing is that one patient actually lived for like 10 days before they died. It's just, it boggles my mind. Absolutely just boggles my mind. All right. What are some other ones? Belladonna, I've also mentioned in prior videos, because belladonna today is actually used for all kinds of things. It's actually, let me actually pull it up. It was in one of the videos that I did on homeopathy for neuropathy. Yeah. It's really, belladonna is pretty interesting because it is neurotoxic, but in certain doses, it's actually used to treat nerve conditions. So, all right. So here, widely regarded as unsafe, belladonna is taken by mouth as a sedative. So that's, any practical magic fans out there, you'll remember the reference to belladonna. It pops up in the movie a couple of times. And little fun fact, it happens to be my daughter, both of my daughters, and my favorite movie. Every fall, Practical Magic is continuously on my TV and also throughout the year. But anyway, you'll remember Sandra Bullock slipping some belladonna into whatever his name was, the crazy guy that was trying to hurt her sister. But anyway, so it's been used as a sedative. A lot of people put it in their tea, and it has a neuro calming effect. But where is the line that you go over that could cause problems? It's also used, it looks like, to treat asthma, whooping cough, cold and hay fever remedy, Parkinson's disease, colic, inflammatory bowel, motion sickness, and as a painkiller. Some people will even, I guess it looks like, apply it to the skin in ointments. Well, also it's used for in ointments, pain along the sciatic nerve, in general nerve pain. Belladonna is used in medicine-filled gauze applications, mental disorders, hyperactivity, and inability to concentrate. Okay. I mean, it's a pretty wild, natural plant. But it can cause a lot of problems. So these are some of the side effects, interestingly enough. Salivation, excess salivation, sweating, pupil size, urination, digestive functions, okay, and increased heart rate and blood pressure. So here are all of the uses for belladonna. As I mentioned earlier, belladonna is likely unsafe when taken by mouth, okay. Okay. So dry. So we talked about these: dry mouth, enlarged pupils, blurred vision, red, dry skin. It almost sounds like it causes like a serotonin syndrome almost, which you can get with plenty of other medications as well. Um, magic mushrooms, you can get this with several different things. But okay, so you can see, ultimately it can be pretty dangerous, but belladonna has been used for a very, very long time in the treatment of, certain conditions like that. It's very, very interesting. And in the, I don't know if I can pull it up here, but let's see. I'm trying to, okay, I think it was maybe this one or this one. Yeah, I think it's this one that I belladonna. So in this video, I not only discuss that, but I discuss several other natural treatments, uh, and whether or not they're dangerous, are they effective? So making these videos was also very interesting. Everybody tends to confuse homeopathic or homeopathy and exactly what that is. But ironically, the whole theory behind homeopathy is that if you take a small amount of an offending substance, so say somebody has a reaction to poison ivy, who doesn't? But let's say we treat that. The thinking behind it is in bigger doses, it causes the skin eruption and the itching and the reactions that we see. But in smaller doses and given over consistent time periods, the body actually, it's almost like immunization, but the body will actually um, become less sensitized to it. And that's what this is talking about. But there are a few other ones in here. So let's see. So there was Arnica montana, which the only one in this video that I had used, which I've, used for muscle aches and pains and things like that. Um, yeah. That's it. This is Arnica montana. And then what were some of the other ones I had in here? St. John's wort is another one used for a very long time. A lot of people were treating with St. John's wort and falling into the trap of it's natural, uh, and having it interact with other medications they were taking. Or they were taking more of it than they should than what's recommended or efficacious when it comes to most people self-treating for depression with it. And because it's not really regulated and you can go get it in a little bottle in grocery store most of the time, people were running into a lot of problems. They were basically overdosing with it. And, we were finding out that when they talked to their doctor and they were having all of these side effects, that's why they were naturally treating with St. John's wort. All right, let's check out a few of these other ones. Let's see. So another point that I found interesting when I was doing just a little bit of research for this live. I will admit I am kind of flying off the cuff here tonight with this live. It has been a long week, and I didn't prepare for this as much as I normally like to. So okay. So Egyptian medicine was documented from the 33rd century all the way to 525 BC, which we're going to get into some more of the Egyptian, surgical techniques and trepidation and things like that. But it was so interesting to me because, in general, they tend to think of medicine and procedures that were done back during that time as being some of the most advanced medical practices for their time. We still can't believe how advanced they were. And, some of the stuff that they used to treat, I tend to believe that our understanding of history is wrong. I tend to believe that they were probably a lot more advanced than we think. What am I basing this on? I have no idea. I mean, probably watched a lot of History Channel and Ancient Aliens. Yeah, I, I'm a nerd. I love Ancient Aliens. And, there are many experts interviewed on that, will say that there was a lot more to that time period and culture and than we think. It wasn't crude tools or anything like that. I think they had to have been way more advanced than we give them credit for. At least that's what I believe. But anyway, yeah. So that's a long period of time to document medical procedures in such detail. And let's go to this. Um, all right. So what I'm bringing up now is, an article on ancient Egyptian medicine. And, you know, this captivated me. Here, I'm not sure. I was a little confused when I was looking at this picture because to me, this looks like their process for mummification going up through the nose, but that person's not dead. So I was trying to read through quickly in between running around the house trying to get my power back on and my routers reset. I was trying to go through here and see what this was depicting. And I think this is trepidation or trepanation, I should say. So very, very advanced civilization. Uh, couple of other interesting points was that they also used magic, which we know this isn't a real departure from anything we know. But another thing that I found really interesting was dream healing was also done by the ancient Greeks and Egyptians, and they would analyze dreams and prescribe treatments based on them, which I find so interesting because anybody who knows who was it Edgar Casey, I believe. Let me take a look for him. Edgar Casey, I think, used to be called the healing prophet because he would go into a deep sleep. He could put himself into a very deep sleep. Um, and he would get prophetic information, all kinds of information. But a lot of people would go to him if they were sick, and he would put himself into a trance, whatever you want to call it. And he would travel through the body, as I understand it, he would travel through the body in this trance and seek out what was causing their issues. Just really incredible. And a lot of times, they would go to him for one thing and he would find something else and give them, he never gave them very complicated treatments. It was always, I'm paraphrasing, but cut out red meat or start taking a teaspoon of castor oil 3 times a day at these certain times. And this is why. And he would say, I saw this in your body or I saw that in your body. And he had a lot of success. I don't know the exact um, statistics, but he had a lot of success. Just trying to find a good reference to him here. So this was Edgar Casey. And anybody who's interested, I mean, I would think that most people have probably heard of it, at least my age, around my age, some a little younger. Any nerds that, like paranormal, this isn't really paranormal, but these types of stories have heard of Edgar Casey. He's pretty well known. But yeah, he was called the sleeping prophet. He was said to be clairvoyant. And if I remember correctly, I think that this had started when he was a child. And if I remember correctly, I want to say he was out by a tree in his yard and was visited by some type of being, whether that was an angel or whatever it was. Let me see if I can find it. Uh, yeah. Yeah, he was having difficulty focusing. His father was very hard on him. Uh, that's right. He was having difficulties concentrating in school. His father was very angry with him. Apparently, I think uh, knocked him, knocked him out of his chair, and then I think he fell asleep with his head on the book. And when he woke up, all of the information that had been in that book, he now had perfect recall of. Really kind of very, very strange. I'm looking to see. where he was. I might be confusing two people, but I'm almost positive that he was visited by some type of being at some point early in his childhood. Yeah. Yeah, and well, I'm not going to spend too much time looking for this, but anyway, that's also Edgar Casey. Highly recommend. He's got multiple books and he has a foundation um, that, tells an accurate life story. I want to say, let me, his foundation, I want to say, is run by a family member. Uh, All right, so let's see what else we have here. All right, so chloroform was used to treat asthma. So chloroform, it's most people will know chloroform when they hear it by um, you know, if you watch a movie with kidnapping or anything like that, they usually pour some chloroform onto a rag and hold it over someone's nose or mouth, and as soon as they take a couple of breaths, they become incapacitated. And apparently, this was used to treat asthma back in the day. Bloodletting is another one. Most people have heard about bloodletting. So the thinking behind with bloodletting used to be that the body consists of compartments that are filled with humors or fluids. And when these fluids go out of balance, they need to be rebalanced. And bloodletting was a way to do that. And whether it was cutting, someone and letting them bleed a little bit, uh, they would also use leeches. We still use leeches today in medicine, which is, interesting. But bloodletting, very common practice all the way. I mean, I've seen evidence of it all the way back into, I want to say, ancient Egypt, maybe even beyond. I'm not 100% sure, but bloodletting is a pretty common one that most people have heard of. All right. We talked about mercury. Mercury just so another interesting one, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to say this correctly. Mithridiotism. So let's put this one up. So this was named after King Mithridates. I think it was King. If I'm saying that wrong, let me know. I think it was King Mithridates the sixth. Hey Ash. Yeah, yeah. And so my ever faithful viewer, my daughter, is in the comments, and I've mentioned before that she's just about ready to graduate PA school. So a lot of these topics, you know, will apply to her too, because a lot of medicine that we use nowadays, back then, it kind of all just flows from that. Okay, so let's check it out. So acupuncture, another one, ancient China, and this was also used to balance the body's energy or qi. We've all heard of qi. Oh, I didn't finish my thought on King Mithridates or Mithridiotism, however you say it. It was basically an early form of immunization, or at least that's how they look at it. So the story behind King Mithridates, let me see if I can find it here. I want to say he was a king and he was poisoned in some fashion, or actually, I think what it was he was trying to protect himself against being poisoned. It was a very common thing in those days. And he would give himself very tiny amounts of poison to the point where he built up a tolerance. And again, you could see the loose um, relation to that and immunizations. Basically, what we're doing with immunizations is we're giving, a little bit to the body so it recognizes it, it builds antibodies towards it, and then we can fight it later. Same concept here with King Mithridates, Dates. I'm not even sure how to say that. All right. All right. So laudanum, this was tincture of opium. And again, if you think about it nowadays, this was used to treat coughs, cramps, diarrhea, again, with the diarrhea, but coughs, cramps, all kinds of things. It was cough suppressant. Today, we use codeine in cough syrup. So you see the relation there. Right. Okay, so now the last one we're going to do is the tobacco smoke enemas. So early 18th and 19th century, they somehow thought that administering smoke enemas to people who had drowned and they were trying to resuscitate them was a good idea. I, you know, if you, I guess if I think about it, tobacco, nicotine, it it wakes you up, it causes your heart to beat a little faster, and everybody knows what tobacco does in the body. And if you also think about it, the GI tract, the rectum, that whole area, even the inside of your mouth, um, very heavily vascular tissue there, which is why we can give suppositories and have them absorb that way. We can give sublingual medication and have it absorbed that way. So I get the concept. We were just way in our infancy when it came to, understanding things, but to all those that came before us, would we be where we are today without all of these weird and wacky types of treatments? I don't know. But the tobacco smoke enema is a real thing. And I want to say it was like a pint of tobacco in water. And then once the, smoke started, they would shove it up on in there. Okay. I'm trying to see if I covered all of these. Bloodletting, trepanation, we talked about that. That's basically putting holes in somebody's skull to cure. They used it for headaches, epilepsy. They also did rudimentary surgery and removed tumors and growths. They didn't have anesthesia, obviously, back then, but they did have plants and things like that I think they used. But of course, this had to be done in a limited capacity but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that we have found plenty of skulls that have had these holes. And when they examine them, not only did they see that they healed very well, but there was no infection, and that these people went on to live probably very normal lives after these procedures. So, I mean, I find that just crazy interesting. Anyway, I think I'm going to cut this live a little shorter tonight. It's been a day. It's been a week. Um, and the weather's really kicking up, and I keep seeing my lights flicker, and I'm hoping my power doesn't go out again. So next week I will be uploading a video. I haven't exactly decided on the topic quite yet, but I did have a very interesting conversation with Dan Buglio of the channel Pain for You. And I have a good feeling that I may do that channel's reaction this coming Sunday. Well, not this Sunday, the following Sunday. We'll see. I kind of have to see, what else pops up. Let me know in the comments if you have a topic that you'd like me to cover. I'd be happy to do that. You can also email me at danielle@lucidmed.com. And let me take my other banner down. Oh, forget it. I'm just going to leave it. There's the email. If you want a topic covered, reach out to me. I answer all comments. I love getting them. I love hearing from you guys. And in the meantime, stay lucid.